YouTube Ozick going the GOAT House is back, and the Deshaun Watson trade rumors are heating up. He actually could be traded this offseason, which would be absolutely wild. And today, I'm here to give you the steps the Chicago Bears need to take to trade for Deshaun Watson. Can it be done? What will need to be done? Who could be cut? Who can't they cut? And then force trade scenarios, what it could actually look like, who the Texans get, who the Bears get. And I know you're already asking. I know you're already wondering, why not do it for more teams? And we can definitely do that. I decided to start with the Bears because my Twitter timeline is literally Deshaun Watson in a Bears uniform over and over and over again. It's insane since they've been eliminated. So I decided to start with the Bears. Pretty popular team, so it makes sense. Yeah, we can do all these teams. There's rumors about all these teams. So go to our Twitter, at GoatHouseNFL. Let's pop that up real quick. And there's a link in the description. It's at GoatHouseNFL. You don't have Twitter, I'd recommend making one. But I'm going to post a poll. Didn't post it yet because everyone on Twitter that follows us has notifications on. Will be very confused. But which team should we do next? Next week, who should we get to? Dolphins, Niners, Jets? You can comment with another. We can keep going on, so we're not going to stop maybe after just a couple or anything. Yeah, here's the Twitter, at GoatHouseNFL, link down below. Constantly retweeting, talking about news, breaking news, giving you my thoughts. The Rams-Packers divisional round game is actually starting in an hour, and I'm going to be talking on Twitter pretty much play-by-play, giving you my takeaways, what happened on this play, everything pretty much. So if you don't have a Twitter, I recommend making one. If you like the GOAT House, if you like NFL, it's a must follow. And then for this question on Sided, we have a post. I'll pin a link in the comments on this video. You guys can vote for who you think will end up getting Deshaun Watson if he's traded. You vote, and then you comment with your thoughts, your logic. And then if people like it, you get points. And if you end up on the leaderboard at the end of each week, 10 people each week win an Amazon gift card. And by voting, you help us out. And if we win Amazon, you see, we're on the leaderboard. If we win an Amazon gift card, we're giving it away on the Twitter. Another reason to, we already did some, another reason to follow us on Twitter. But enough's enough. Links down below for anything that you need there. Bears. Bears' current cap space situation, according to Spotrac, pretty cool site. Don't know how it's actually said, but I did an offseason preview video yesterday, actually, which was the 15th. All 32 teams, pretty cool video, very popular. Check it out. But people were kind of getting on me about my cap space calculations, estimates. The cap number is supposed to drop, so I think they're in the ballpark. It's pretty tough to predict exactly the exact number, but people were kind of getting mad about that and like, are you right? So I took a person I trust, or a site that I trust here, and they actually have less for the Bears, a little less, I believe, negative 9.933. So cap number coming down because of the COVID situation, the lack of ticket sales sucks. It's gonna be rough. So hopefully that's not the case. Fingers crossed there. But that's what it's looking like if it does, which is expected to. Now here's Deshaun Watson's contract. I crossed out 2020 because we're done. We're done with 2020. What we need to focus on here is the cap hit. That's how much it's gonna affect that cap space right there. So 2021 is actually not that much for Deshaun Watson's talent. You see the rest of them, that kind of matches, one of the best quarterbacks in football. So 15.94, mainly got to worry, when you trade for a guy, you look, can we make it work in the future as well? But it's not like, all right, if we're missing this a little bit of space here, we can't do it. No, that's really not how it works. But so the main focus is clear that 15 point, get that available or in that range, but they have negative 9.33. The dead cap is how much they would lose if he was cut. You take the dead cap, minus the cap hit from it. But Deshaun Watson, I mean, come on, he's not going to be cut, so we don't have to worry about that. But it becomes later in his contract, it becomes easier to cut him if he somehow declines. So it's a pretty solid contract, a lot of money, but it's well deserved. Let's take a look at, so the Bears need to clear $25.8 million because they have negative, and they need to get to that 15 point, whatever that he's due. He's going to be a cap hit of this year. So they got to clear about $16 million, and we'll talk about who they can't cut in a second, but I cleared $16.5 million. This is how I went about it. This might be like the only guys they can cut again. They could restructure guys. It's very hard to predict, who they can restructure. It's hard to predict who will be willing to take a restructure. So that could happen. They could pay the guys the same amount of money, but maybe backload it. So, they have more space now to make the deal. So that would probably happen. And that could maybe subtract one or two guys from here. But as of now, this is kind of the projection and what they would have to do to get to that $16 million in cap space. Charles Leno, $6 million if you cut him. You save $6.2 million. He's their left tackle, so it's not really ideal to cut him because you're creating some holes and you're creating maybe a worse offensive line than he just had in Houston, and that was a problem. Deshaun Watson, that is. Jimmy Graham played pretty well this year, better than expected, so they might not be ideal to get rid of him as well. But you would save $7 million, and you have Cole Kmet, who's a similar style tight end, and he's gotten better every step of the way, and he's going to continue to get better. So what the contract layout, they may have been thinking that, so it's pretty solid, I suppose, if he's cut. Bobby Massey's $6.7 million. He's been injured, their right tackle, so I think they can cut him. But again, then they got to kind of, and Afeti's a free agent, so they kind of got to focus on attack. Do you want to focus on both left and right tackle? That's kind of the question. Anthony Miller, which I know Bears fans aren't really thrilled with, based on his performance this year and getting thrown out of a game, the most recent game in the playoffs. $1.2 million. They say Buster Skrine, $2.8 million, which I think. Shelley could replace him as the slot corner, so that's great. Joel Igbunwe from Western Kentucky. That was a little bit of a project guy. It's a low risk because it was a mid-round pick from Western Kentucky. I didn't think he fit their 3-4, and I don't think it ended up working out that way. Riley Ridley, who hasn't really been working out, you save around under $1 million, $500,000, just above there. And Javon Wims you can cut. There's other guys in that price point range that they can cut. I just thought those ones, you're kind of creating a receiver need, though. That's the problem here. This is why it's difficult, because Allen Robinson is also a free agent and you're cutting all these receivers. I think Anthony Miller would have to be involved in this. But basically you're going to have to restructure some deals so you don't have to get rid of this many receivers, and you can save one of those tackles, Leno preferably there. That is a lot of guys they have to cut. Obviously, they can trade some of these guys or trade other guys that are more important to them that they can clear space going that way. We'll talk about scenarios. But other guys you can save money on, but they don't, like Hicks, if you cut Akeem Hicks, I don't think they would want to do that. Guys that you may say they should cut, but they can't. If they cut Robert Quinn, they would actually lose $9.2 million. If they cut Nick Foles, that one looks pretty rough. They would lose negative $7.6 Danny Trevathan, who they still like, but it's a possibility that you may want to compared to some of these other guys or other guys that are on here. So you lose a lot of money. And Tariq Cohen, which I think they did miss, they would like him back. They just gave him the contract, but I feel like somebody would probably bring it up. Maybe we don't need Tariq Cohen. Can we cut him? No, they can't. So this is just kind of just showing you who they can and can't cut here and who's ideal. So a lot of things need to happen to clear that space. So it's looking less realistic, to be honest, right now. But we can take a look at some of the trade options that I had, trade scenarios. Bears get Deshaun Watson, and this would have to be if they cleared the space, the restructured contracts, all of that, whatever. And it's been rumored the Texans want 3 first-round picks, but that might be if it's like a top pick involved. The Bears, unfortunately, have the 20th pick, which isn't ideal, but I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt here, it's still possible. 3 first-round picks is pretty ridiculous. So Texans get the first round picks in 2021. That's this year. That's a 20th overall pick, 2022, 2023. So that's an option. If we want to go with kind of a similar option, you don't want to give up 3 first round picks. What it could look like, 2 first round picks, 2021, 2022, instead of that 3rd first round pick, a 3rd and a 5th this year I came up with, and a 2nd next year. So you're not completely torched in year 1 here in 2021. Bears don't have a 4th round pick this year. So that's something in the ballpark that maybe they can get done with, without trading that 3rd first round pick. I mean, who knows? The Bears, Bears haven't had a quarterback in a long, Jay Cutler or some consider their best quarterback ever, statistically speaking. So, they're trying to get that sure thing guy. So this might just be, let's just stop, with our wasting draft picks. They trade a lot of draft picks. If we're going to get a guy, then we're, use those draft picks to get the guy, not gamble on a guy, So they might be willing to give up more than this if the Texans do ask for it. And, again, the Texans don't have to trade him at this point. It's not like, who was Jamal Adams demanding a trade? Stephon Diggs was. It's not like that situation yet. Trade scenario number 3. So going back to the 3 first-round picks, or the last scenario, so 3 first-round picks or the last scenario plus a 2021 3rd for the Texans to take Nick Foles. So the Bears don't want to cut all those guys. They want to trade Nick Foles. Cutting him would lose money. Trading him would save some money, not a whole bunch. But shipping him off and being wiped, free from his contract in the future would be ideal. So Texans take 3 first-rounders, and we'll give you this 3rd-round pick, and you take Nick Foles, something in that range. 4th would have felt a little better. Maybe they don't have that, but something in that range. It's tough to say. With the Texans can pretty much demand anything, at this point, a team that's desperate for a quarterback. So it could end up being more. But the point here was for the Texans to take on Nick Foles, the Bears are gonna have to give up more. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Maybe even more than that. Who knows? And then next, this is the last one I have. Deshaun Watson. It's involved Khalil Mack, which would clear a lot of space for the future. Because he's still got a pretty lengthy contract. But at the end of the contract, it's at the point where if for some reason he's declined, you can cut him and actually save money. Not quite yet, though. But you wouldn't want to cut a guy like that yet anyways. So instead of 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks and Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack feels like kind of a first-round pick as well, so in that range. So you can argue that's kind of 3 first-round picks, but Khalil Mack's contract isn't really, he's worth it because he's a great player, but the question is, do the Texans even want to trade Watts first place? Do they want to take in Khalil Mack's contract? So they would probably prefer 3 first-round picks. It might be a rebuild situation, so I think they definitely would prefer 3 first-round picks over this because if they trade Watson, they're pretty much in a rebuild situation. If they get a quarterback that can start now, that's why a Dolphins video would probably be good because it was talking about Tua plus picks for Watson, and they can potentially still win now with Tua. And that's why the Bears, the more and more I'm talking, it's seeming less and less. And I never thought it was realistic, really. I thought it was possible. But the amount of guys they need to cut or be able to move, the Texans need to be able to trade Watson. They need to want to trade Watson or be okay with it. And then other teams can't be in the mix because other teams can be more appealing. Like I said, Dolphins have Tua. They have 2 first-round picks. Other teams, Washington has 1 better pick than the Bears. The Jets have a much better pick than the Bears. The 49ers actually have a better pick than the Bears. They also have Jimmy Garoppolo. So the Bears need to have a lot happen. Plus, they might be one of the least appealing in terms of ammo what the Texans are getting back. So a lot needs to happen, as we can see here with pretty much every stage. There is a lot of people out there and some Bears fans. People, I think most of them are kind of just hopeful, like they want this to happen. That's definitely understandable. Some people just think it's happening, whether it's Bears fans, Niners fans, whatever. You can see just by a video like this that it will take a lot. And again, the Texans have to agree to it. You can't just snap your finger or force a team to do it. A lot has to happen. So it's not that simple. And I think some fan bases will kind of be let down. Like the Bears, if they don't want to cut those many guys, they're gonna have to end up with a cheap quarterback. They were talking about Andy Dalton last year. Could they end up with Andy Dalton? I think it's a realistic possibility this year, and Bears fans would be pretty upset. You'd be let down. It wouldn't be good. So I think that is actually it's a lot more realistic than this. But you can see the news is, the rumors are heating up, and you can see the possibilities and what they have to do. So I thought this was a very interesting idea. Again, if you want me to do more of these teams, you can vote. I'm about to post that poll there in a second. For who I should do next. That'll be early next week. So like the 18th, 19th, somewhere around there of January. So we can do more of these, but we got a whole bunch of offseason videos already going up and more on the way. We have an offseason preview video, which gets you going. We have free agency rankings. We got mock drafts up. We got, more free agency draft coverage than anybody on the planet, not even just on YouTube. So make sure you follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. That's an absolute must. Links in the description, comments for anything that you need. Subscribing, much appreciated. Full NFL coverage, like I said. Smashing that like button would be awesome. Turning notifications on so you don't miss a thing, whether it's here or Twitter. Comment with your thoughts, if you messed around with who they should cut and how they deal with the cap space, or if they should do it, other teams that should do it. If you're already ahead of me and you got the plan all written out for the other teams as well, that'd be very cool to see in the comments. Appreciate everyone for their support, and thanks for watching this video. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.